Joe Glendening is joining us, the senior running back for the Hillsdale College Chargers. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
How well are you doing? I mean, there's been all kinds of talk about your feet and your turf toe and your body throughout this season. Can you talk? I know you're not a guy to talk a lot about injuries, and you never make excuses, but what percentage are you right now as you finish out the season for the Chargers?
I actually feel pretty good this week. It's a grind for everyone, so I'm not too sure I'm much more beat up than anyone else. So it's getting closer to the 100%, but like I said, everyone's getting pretty beat up right now.
What's the last game that you played where you were 100%? Like you felt like you were at your maximum, capacity?
Before I got turf, though, I felt pretty good. That was I got it during Notre Dame College, and I think that was week 4, maybe. So
since then you've been battling that. You've been battling that turf toe. Can you tell everybody what is turf toe? I mean, can you describe what it is and what it feels like?
It's basically just spraining your toe. So right on the knuckle, it kind of stand up on your toes, I guess. Hurts, and my calf on my leg actually looks quite a bit smaller on that leg now because I had to wear the boot around for so long. But I don't know. It's just been hanging around and won't go away.
Right. It was weird because some of the coaches were talking about how you were in a boot during the week and then, refused to sit out a game or miss any time. How much have you been able to practice this year? I mean, has it been a situation where you've had to sit out practice to try to heal that up as much as possible?
Yeah, I was doing that in the beginning. Right when I heard it, I was sitting out for the majority of the week of practice, and then, Thursday do a light practice, and Friday do the walkthrough and play Saturday. But since then, it kind of depends on the game. If it was a game that was tougher on my toe, I'd sit out Monday to do the rest of the week. Fortunately, this week I've been able to go every day so far.
So you've had pretty much a full week of practice. We're talking to Joe Glendening, the great running back for Hillsdale College before his final game this weekend at Northwood. The last 2 weeks have been tough, Joe. I think everybody was surprised about the outcome of the Grand Valley game. They had struggled a little bit this year, especially defensively, coming in to play us on homecoming. It seemed like we were due for another epic battle, between Hillsdale and Grand Valley, and it would be close one way or the other. And they came in and handled us. Were you as surprised as everybody else at how that game went down 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I was surprised. It's not that we didn't think they were a great football team because we knew what they were capable of, but we thought pretty highly of our capabilities as well, and still do. But yeah, they definitely gave us one on the chin during that game, and we thought it was going to be a battle that came down to the very end, and it didn't work out that way, which obviously was unfortunate for us.
Well, coming from the Grand Rapids area, you and I have talked about this a couple other times, but you have managed to beat Grand Valley during your career, and I know you're disappointed to lose to them this year, but at least getting a win over Grand Valley during your time here has got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it has been exciting, and back and forth, we've had some great battles since my time here, and it was unfortunate that the last one didn't go our way, but it's been a fun rivalry to be a part of, and I think it probably is more of a rivalry today than it might have been, however many years ago, because we have had such close games, with this year being an exception.
Yeah, it's not a rivalry when you get killed every year. And Grand Valley, really handled Hillsdale for a long time, and it started 5-6 years ago as Coach Outerbein built this program, and then of course all of the talented players from Veldier and Nicolay, and then Weatherhead and you, and the list goes on and on and on. It has become a rivalry, and I think that's why it was so surprising. There were actually people, Joe, that were pretty confident that Hillsdale was going to beat Grand Valley, and that I don't ever remember that being the case. So that just shows you how far Hillsdale has come to be up in that conversation. What about the trip last week to Michigan Tech? I didn't see the game. Very few of our listeners probably went to the game and managed to watch it live. It was a disappointing result, obviously, a long road trip. Talk about the Tech game.
We wanted to go up to Tech, show our resiliency, and come back from a tough loss against Grand Valley. And for whatever reason, we weren't able to do that. And I don't think the scoreboard necessarily shows how close the game really was. They definitely stuck it to us pretty good, but there were a lot of just little mistakes that we made. And, they're definitely the more physical team. And we had talked about all week that if we wanted to win that game, we were going to have to be the more physical team, and they won that battle. So it was tough, especially when it comes back-to-back with the Grand Valley game. But, you learn some lessons from the game of football, and luckily we'll have another chance this Saturday, and for us seniors, our last chance. So hopefully we can make the best of it this time.
How tough is this on you guys? I mean, last year winning the GLIAC outright with that 8-3 record, somehow inexplicably not making the postseason. The motto this year was, leave no doubt. I think there was a narrative where you guys were confident this year with pretty much the entire offense coming back, most of the defense coming back, that this was going to be a playoff run. And it's not going to be. And I know that it's bitter and disappointing and it's a fresh wound to talk about, but I don't know when I'm going to get to talk to you again. Just how are you guys handling that reality now that the season didn't go like all of us had hoped that it would?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow because I think across the board, doesn't matter who on our team or associated with our team you ask, 6-4 is not what we were hoping for and it's not what we were expecting, but in the middle of the season, coming to the end of the season now, you don't have time to feel bad for yourself because you have another good opponent in Northwood for this Saturday. So I'm sure we'll probably look back and think what could have been if maybe did a few things different, and you never want to have that as an option. But I'm so proud of our guys because I think you can't look at anyone and say that they haven't given their best effort. It just
right.
For whatever reason hasn't come out the way we hoped for. But like I said, just want to finish strong on Saturday and don't want to end the season with such a bad taste in our mouth.
One thing I love about your coaching staff and players is nobody ever makes excuses. I can't get anybody to give me an excuse for anything. And so, but those of us who follow the team closely are pointing to Cam White's injury. We're pointing to the fact that you haven't been 100%, at least talking about the offensive troubles. Is there any truth to any of that, or do you just dismiss that right away?
Any team faces injury, so I'd probably dismiss that right away because Cam's obviously a great player and we do miss him, but we have the next man in mentality and we have great players that back him up. So it just has been a whole group that we need to be better, and we need to be better this Saturday.
I want to talk about Saturday in a couple of minutes, but I want to talk about something that you hate talking about, which is records and individual accomplishment. I've tried in the 2 or 3 times we've talked to get you to talk about yourself and your records, and you don't really like to do it. Why don't you? I mean, you've accomplished incredible things here at Hillsdale College as a football player, but yet you're really not comfortable talking about it, are you?
Well, I don't feel like I deserve the amount of credit that sometimes I'm given, and I know for a fact that the guys around me haven't received the amount of recognition they deserve, so you got to try and give them their credit where it's due. From the offensive line for paving the way for 4 years to with a great skill that I've been around, and the coaches that, even I'm sure they've been a little frustrated with the lack of production, but they've kept positive and I continue to learn things every day in practice from film and on the practice field.
You have a pretty decent running backs coach too, and Coach Otterbein. I mean, what's it like having the head man be your coach?
I like it. He always says it's not like going to the principal's office when you have to go up to meetings in his office. He's really actually our position coach. It's not like the head coach, but I've learned a lot from him, both about football and about life, because he's a great man as well, and I've been blessed to be under him, both as a head coach and as a position coach.
I'm looking at your roster of records right now. You've got them all, by the way, as far as a running back at Hillsdale College, season record and career record. We're talking about all-time rushing yards, all-time touchdowns, the season records and rushing yardage in touchdowns and all the rest of it. You got every record, Joe. And I know that you're still in the season, and maybe this would be a better thing to talk to you about after the season, but is there one record that you can point to that you're most proud of?
I'm not really sure about that. I would say probably the career stuff, it means a lot, I guess, because, I guess one season doesn't mean as much when it's a whole body of work, and that speaks to a whole bunch of guys, because there have been different guys blocking the way and all of that. So probably point to that, I guess. I don't know if that's a good answer, but
no. Have you ever met Scott Schulte?
I actually did get a chance to meet him a few weeks ago.
He's a great guy, and I remember him when I was a kid, watching him run at Frank Muddy Waters Stadium, and I don't know that anybody really thought that career rushing record would ever get beaten. I mean, almost 5,000 yards as a career rusher. Schulte was unbelievable. Just an explosive running back. And you chased him down. You tracked him down. And that does talk about your teammates. And it talks about your ability to stay on the field. And I think that's what I wanted to go to next. You had games where you carried the ball 30, 35, 40 times in a game. I mean, the number of carries that you'd have over a season, especially I think your sophomore year, it was unbelievable. How are you able to stay out there? I mean, how are you able to stay on the field and take all of that punishment with all of those carries?
Well, it's a running back's dream to be able to get the ball, as much as you could ask for. And, sometimes that kind of feels like it's turning into a nightmare as much as you get beat up. But, it's been fun all the way through, and it hasn't been easy getting beat up a little bit week to week. But not the only guy getting beat up. The guys in the trenches are taking just as many hits, I'm sure. So I always have felt like I owed it to them to be on the field when I can and play as hard as I can while I'm on there.
I want to say it was your sophomore year when Hillsdale College made the playoffs. We played at St. Cloud, and you were not able to play in the playoff game. And you had 1 million carries that season. Was there ever a thought that maybe you had too many, that if you hadn't carried it quite as many times during the year that you could have somehow played or been a little more fresh for that playoff game?
I didn't really give that too much thought. I guess you could have one carry on the season and get hurt, so I was fortunate to last as long as I did. And, it was a great accomplishment for our team to get to the playoffs. And, I think the coaches in any of their decisions put us in the best possible position to get there. So,
what was that day like for you? What was that day like for you? We're sitting there by the Mississippi River. It's like 3 degrees, heavy wind. You can't play. You're a warrior. You want to be out there with your teammates. You tried to go and just couldn't go. What was that day like for you?
That was one of the worst innings. I tried to do the walkthrough the night before and just couldn't make it happen. And that was pretty emotional because I wanted to be able to do it for the seniors, wanted to be able to do it for everyone. And it was tough to watch. Didn't help that it felt like it was below freezing, and that just wasn't a good day.
You talk so much about what you get out of the game and the lessons that you learn from the game. And if there's a kid out there, maybe a JV high school player or a young varsity player who is starting out a football career, what could you tell them that Joe Glendening has learned from the game, that you've taken away from it, just beyond being out there on the field every Saturday? What has this game given Joe Glendening?
Where to start? Right now we're learning when you get knocked down, you got to get back up and just keep fighting in anything you do. And at the end of the day, your worth doesn't come from who or what you are as a football player. And I think that's important. And at Hillsdale College, I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by people that have taught me that lesson. So I'd say those two things mainly.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if that kind of sentiment isn't a cliche as some of the other schools. But when you go to our banquet, Coach Otterbein leads off with what you're describing, which is this is not the end for our kids. This is the very beginning. Their senior day, their graduation, moving on from the game of football. It's not the end for you guys. And I feel like, even though I'm not around you guys every day, I feel like that's really not just lip service, that's important to your coaches and to your team, that football has its place. It's extremely important, but you're doing something even bigger than that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's portrayed by Coach Otterbein, and he definitely doesn't just give lip service to it, and that passes all the way down. So while we're on the football field, we give it everything we have, and we're forced to in the classroom give everything we have, and I think that alone teaches you a lot of lessons of how football isn't the only thing, and that carries over to a lot of different areas of your life.
You like to talk about your teammates, so I want to ask you about a couple of them, if you don't mind. And I know I'm not going to bring up all of the key guys that are so important to your squad, but what about the work from Anthony this year? Obviously taking over for Weatherhead a couple of years ago. Troy was really a special leader and a great quarterback for Hillsdale College. Anthony winning that battle, stepping in and being our quarterback this year. How have you seen him grow over the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, he's done a great job ever since he won that job, and he's as cool as they get on the football field. He's always kind of that calming reassurance while he's out there, and I think that's something that's definitely grown in him as he's continued to get more and more playing time over the last couple of years. And, I look up to him as a leader myself because he makes the right decisions, and, he leads by example.
You had a chance to play with some guys who were playing on Sundays. Nick Hickson, who I thought he was an inspiring guy last year. Not just to return kicks, not just to be a shutdown corner, but then to play third down wide receiver. What was it like playing with Nick Hickson? And what kind of guy was he in the locker room and out on the field?
There's no question that Hickson loved the game of football, and I think that was something that just kind of exuded off of him. And he could do it all for us last year, which was instrumental in our GLIAC championship. So he was also a great leader. He did things the right way. He worked hard every day, and like I said, he just loved the game of football, and anyone around him could tell that.
If there's somebody in the locker room or, after practice or during practice or whatever the case may be that just cracks everybody up, that, has that kind of presence where they can make a moment fun and to just get everybody laughing, who's that guy in your team this year?
Oh, man. There's probably quite a few of them. I have to give some running back love to Isaac Spence. He's been my roommate, and we always have a good time, whether it's prank calls on the road or what. But he's definitely someone that always cracks me up quite a bit.
Since you bring him up, what about Isaac? I mean, he's come in and played pretty well. A couple of games you've had to come out a little bit and kind of walk that injury off a little bit. He's come in and done well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done a great job. The more comfortable he's gotten, the better he's been playing, and I think he'll continue to do a great job. And he's another hard worker, and I think the future looks bright for Isaac.
What about your future, Joe? Obviously, this is it. After the game up in Northwood, you'll finish off your senior year, and then you'll move on with your life. Is there any aspiration for you to keep playing football or to try to keep playing football, or will you go in a different direction when this year's over?
I'm gonna see if there's a chance. If there's a chance, there's not no other time than now to try and chase that dream. So if that's in the cards, I'll go after that. I don't know that I've had the year that necessarily will lead to that, but if not, like we talked about earlier, I feel like Hillsdale College is putting me in the best spot to take other paths, and I'll just see what God has in store for me there.
What's I don't want to call it Plan B, but if you're not in the NFL or playing football professionally, what are you going to be doing professionally?
Marketing management is my major, so I guess we'll see where that takes me. I'm not really sure.
Right. Oh, that could open up. I mean, that could lead to a million different things. Hey, you got to feel like, though, with Hillsdale College's footprint now in the NFL, with what Jared has done, with what Dre's doing, with what Nick's doing, some other guys getting a look as well. I mean, Hillsdale College is not unknown now to these scouts. I mean, they know where we are, who we are. They know about you. Have you had any interest from these scouts, or what's the temperature right now in your prospects for playing NFL football?
They've been around a little bit, and they definitely have kind of shared their feeling that Hillsdale is not just a name they've never heard of. It's definitely pretty prominent in their minds, and I don't think that hurts, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even though you've been hurt this year and battled the turf toe, those NFL scouts, I mean, I think they know what turf toe is. I've seen a lot of players, Joe, sit out games because of turf toe, sometimes 2-3 weeks. You didn't sit out anything. You played through it. And I think that's got to mean a lot to those guys. And, if they judge you based on what you did your junior year, then forget about it. I mean, because you were absolutely the best player in the country last year. And so I think you still have to be on the short list for a lot of teams to at least consider. You've mentioned Northwood a bunch of times, and so I want to finish off previewing the game for Saturday. Northwood on the road, it's always tough to win in the GLIAC, obviously. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your plan and what you're looking for in the game this weekend?
Well, Northwood's another good team. They have a very talented defensive line that, is going to be a good test for our offense. And I think the plan is try and do what we weren't able to do last week, and that's be the more physical team. And, third downs have always been a staple of Hillsdale College offense the last few weeks. We haven't been very successful on those, so we're definitely going to try and get the third and manageable and be able to convert on those third downs and be the more physical football team.
Well, Joe, I don't need to tell you how much fun it's been to watch you play football. You and your teammates have made all of us proud who follow the team, and not just the product on the field, but the way you guys carry yourselves off from it. Congratulations on a sensational career, and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.